Hello and welcome to UFC Pitchside, the sports chat show brought to you by University Company Stewards of Stewards. I'm your host as always, Tom Dorset, and we're going to get straight into it this week with the big news, the sackings, and there's been two. AVB at Spurs and Steve Clarke at West Brom. So we're going to start with the AVB thing, which I thought was a bit ridiculous really, considering they're not really that far off where they want to be. Jamie, what do you think?
Well, Spurs haven't been performing very well, and especially losing 5-0 and 6-0. 5-0 to Liverpool and 6-0 to Man City, who are two top four challengers. So things weren't looking good for AVB. He spent a lot of money. He's gotten rid of two of the best players, Modric and Bale. So dismantled a fully functioning team, really, didn't he?
To be fair though, do you not think that half of those players will probably not signed by AVB? I think the only two that I can actually see AVB wanting were Ericsson, Paulinho and Soldado, and I think the rest may have been signed off the Baldini signature.
That's all speculation at the moment. Like I do think that he would have signed the majority of the players, but I think he brought in far too many at once, and it just wasn't going to work.
I think they got excited with the amount of money there, didn't they? And just they'll spend it again. But I think the only ones that have done any... Well, Soldado's done okay. I mean, he's starved of service on the midfield. I mean, he's a striker that relies on service. Ericsson was alright until he got injured. Chadley just doesn't look good enough. Paulinho's very hit and miss. Like he just seems to like get in and out of games quite easily. But I sort of agree with the Baldini thing. I think some of them have been signed without him. But even so, if you're gonna let a manager sign so many players, you've got to give him longer than, what has it been, like 3 months to fit them in?
Yeah. I think I don't think it's fair to say that he dismantled a very good team, got rid of Modric and Bale.
No, I don't think that's fair either.
They wanted to go. They were always going to go to Real Madrid. Real Madrid are probably the biggest club in the world. They're only two or three places below where you'd expect them to be anyway, so I think it's a bit harsh. I know that 6-0 to Man City wasn't good. 5-0 at home to Liverpool, where you lose 5-0 at home to any team. It's not a good result, is it? It doesn't matter who it is. But yeah, I think they should have been given longer. It's what I think Gary Neville said on Twitter the other day is presidents and prime ministers get 4 or 5 years for a reason, because it takes time to change. And I think he has been these too rigid and too unwilling to change his formation, his style of play. But I think he should have been given more time.
I'm just going to switch it around. Say if it was this is for the Liverpool boys. Say if it was Liverpool at home and Tottenham had done that to you, would you want? And if you were in a similar position to what Spurs are, would you have been calling for Rodgers' head?
Absolutely not. That's a freak result, and you can't be sacking the manager over that. And personally, I think AVB has been making a lot of mistakes tactically, but it's a lot of them players were signed by Baldini, and I don't know. I think it's a pretty harsh decision, really. I think he's the best, statistically the best Tottenham manager in the Premier League era, and the second best ever for points per game. I think every player that they've signed has never been played in the Premier League before. It's a lot of new players. Some of them maybe aren't good enough, but it's got to take time. He's building a new team, and they're in 7th. They're only 5 points off of Liverpool, who are having their best season in years. To sack him is absolutely ludicrous. What are they going to do now? Get in Glenn Hoddle? He's going to do awful. Not a chance. I think it was a terrible decision.
Spurs fans were kind of hesitant when they first heard that AVB came in. I know because my old boss was a Spurs fan, and he wasn't impressed by AVB being announced. And I think they did have trouble warming to him with the way he is in the media as well, that kind of thing. So I don't think I was that surprised that he got the sack. It was probably a bit harsh, but I think that's the way it is at the moment in football. We've talked about it before about sackings, and that's the way it's going.
Like I said though, if it was turned around and it was Liverpool who had been beat at home and you was in the same position as Spurs, would you be calling for Rodgers' head?
No, Liverpool isn't like Spurs though.
How do you?
I don't know. They were quick enough. They were quick enough to get Hodgins back.
Exactly what I was just
Hodgson
about
had
to
us
say.
about 5 points off the relegation zone. He did. He had his foot. He signed Park and Chesky, mate. Liverpool are a club that, you like it or not, want to be the best club in England, and you cannot be signing Park and
Yeah,
Chesky.
but come on. How many bad players have Benitez signed?
Yeah, but how many good players did he sign? He won the Champions League. You can't compare Rafa Benitez.
That was a freak final.
You can't compare Rafa
That was
Benitez
a
to Roy
freak
Hodgson.
final.
Roy Hodgson doesn't even know how to manage a team.
Right, boys, do not blaspheme
No.
Roy in front
No,
of
talking about Rafa, that the team he built was the best spine easily in the
Brought in
country.
Xabi Alonso and players like this. Mascherano, like he had a great team.
You've got them started now,
Pepe
Jack.
Reina.
Know what you've done.
We had the best midfield in the world at the time. Gerrard, Mascherano, and Alonso.
I think yeah, you had some like your Alonso's, your Mascherano's, your Gerrards.
Your Momo
But then
Sissoko's.
you also had your Stuart Downings, your Paul Konchesky's, and there was just your Charlie Adams.
They were Kenny Dalglish.
No, there's another class manager.
Right, before we go too far,
Stood
I am
abroad,
going to
it's
try and
nice.
get. I'm going to try and get
Bite,
George's
bite.
reaction to this later on in the show, but it'll probably be something like, "Oh, I'm well happy AVB's gone. We won't have to fight anymore, and we're out of the league." Stuff like that. I'll try my best to get there.
Going back to it though, like, there was never any danger of Spurs ever being in relegation trouble. So why not give him the season? Why not see if towards the end of the season they finally gel?
Because they spent so much money they couldn't afford not to be in Champions League. I think that's the way it was.
No, but like, they didn't actually spend that much net value. They spent
Yeah,
about
exactly.
10 million. Like,
Exactly.
like what do Spurs want to do? The Spurs want to challenge for Champions League. What's their aspirations? They're doing that. They're challenging for it. They're not going to be title contenders.
No, they never are.
Not unless they get like
I think
consistently.
the fans,
spend about
when-
30-40 million net every year. That's what you need.
When you
to-
spend 100 million though, I think a lot of people do look at you and say you should be contending for the title. How much money did City spend? And Chelsea?
About 70 million net. City. Chelsea spent about 20, 30. They didn't spend that much at all.
Who do we reckon should will get the Tottenham job?
Glenn
If
Hoddle.
it's Glenn Hoddle, it's going to be fantastic. But I think I was saying before we came on air that I think Frank de Boer a good suit for that job.
Yeah, maybe.
I think if they're smart, they should hold out, put someone like Sherwood in it until the end of the season, and then after World Cup, there's going to be a load of great managers looking for jobs. I think like who are they going to get now? There's not that many good managers that are available at the moment, unless they start paying off people's.
If I was De Boer, I wouldn't want to leave Ajax.
It's just I was just thinking as a case of it would be a big challenge, wouldn't it? And if he's I don't know, maybe he's getting a bit.
Ideally, they would have got in Martinez before they got AVB in.
And it's the style of football they want to
But-
play in at Tottenham with obviously the Dutch sort of Ajaxy way and with Ericsson there.
If they hold out till after the World Cup, they could have a chance to lower someone. Like some great managers that aren't going to be managing anymore. I think just hold out.
Moving on, Steve Clarke. I think he's been a bit unlucky as well. to be
That's a more
honest.
ridiculous decision than AVB. Who are they going to get? Who are they going to get to replace him? No
Yeah.
one. Some people were saying, "Oh, he wasn't doing that great." Well, no, it's West Brom. It's not Man City or something. There's going to be times where they're not doing great just purely because of finances, players, and who they are. It is ridiculous.
Especially off the back of their best ever Premier League finish.
It's just stupidity, sheer
You
stupidity.
have to
by their
remember
board.
that. You have to remember that last season was their best ever finish in the Premier League as well. So it's a very hasty decision, and I agree with Jack. It's even more ridiculous than AVB. And when you're not playing Shane Long, I suppose you're going to get in trouble, aren't you?
They've got a taste of success, and they think, "Oh, we deserve this now."
Mm.
They would not have been where they were last season, apart from, if it wasn't for Steve Clarke.
I think they've also got to remember that long history they had of being the yo-yo club, up and down, up and
Yeah.
down.
Going back to Steve Clarke, Tottenham, solid manager. He'll sort them out this season. He might not lift them to the same heights as what they want to get, but for the next year or two, there's a transition period. Steve Clarke, solid manager.
It's
Maybe.
interesting. It's interesting also that both of them who've been sacked this week, Villas Boas and both Steve Clarke, worked for Mourinho at Chelsea.
Mm.
They were all in his backroom staff. There's quite a few who've come out. Wasn't Brendan Rodgers as well?
Yeah,
He was
yeah.
part of that.
Well, he won't be getting sacked.
No.
They've also said like it's to do with the way they handled the media. I think Steve Clarke in one of his early press conferences said something said to the chairman in so many words that he wanted some money, sort of thing. And obviously he did spend quite a lot. I think they broke their record, was it twice? Sessignon and Achevi might have been broken their records, but I think it's ridiculous. I don't know who they're going to go for. Martin Yo, he did do that great with us.
Clarke to Spurs, Zola to West Brom. Zola doesn't deserve the West Brom job.
Zola to West Brom, no
He's
way.
an absolute flash in the pan. He has one good season, then he's crap afterwards. He's done that twice. West Ham and now Watford.
They went 10 games without a win, was it? I don't know. They lost to Sheffield Wednesday.
Exactly. Sheffield Wednesday are a god awful team.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
bad.
Kev, what do you reckon to West Brom?
I don't have a clue, to be honest with you, lads. Again, the problem is, what are West Brom's aspirations? They were close to the relegation zone, but surely they were going to come out with that again. That's a problem with a lot of clubs, really. They're sacking people. But what do West Brom expect? Do they expect to be a top half team. Do they have the wage bill of a top half team? Because that's
I
usually
think that they
dictates it, like-
wanted to build on what they did last season, and when they bring players like Sessegnon, you know, it's kind of expected to go that way. Although they did have Lukaku last season, which is a big difference, of course.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't know what that's. I see what Kev means. Like I don't see where they're looking to
And I've heard,
finish other than above the relegation. They should be
I've
happy with
heard
that.
rumours that Anelka's on a pretty hefty wage as well.
He
No,
will
it
be.
will
And
be.
to have him
He will
sitting
be.
there as
You
well.
spent 6 million on Nietzsche. Like, what were they thinking? Shocking scene.
Wasn't Anelka going to walk out at one point this season
Yeah,
anyway?
because of his former agent.
Do you think Anichebe was Clarke signing though?
I think.
Do you think-
Maybe, yeah.
I don't see. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
Because if you look at Anichebe, he could be. I think personally, from a personal,
He's
I
a
think
poor
he could
man's
be-
Lukaku, really.
Yeah.
I think he could
Very
be.
poor man.
He's a poor man's Heskey.
I think he
But
could be a good
Not
striker
bad, yeah.
if he like.
No, he's a good-
consistent.
He's a Fulham standard striker, not a West Brom standard
No,
striker.
no.
He could be-
Hey,
He could be
come
used.
on.
He could be used as a lump up front, but Lukaku's got everything. No, they're always going to miss him.
Like I said with trying to get reaction from George about the Tottenham sacking, I'm going to try and also get some reaction from a West Brom fan who's on the course as well. So I'll see how that goes later on. We'll try and fit it in there. Anyway, moving on to last weekend's football, the City Arsenal game. Like I think you predicted a draw, and I think George might have predicted like a 2-1, 6-3.
Some game, goals galore, and it was a great performance from City. Arsenal were I don't know if it was that they were poor, but just City were incredible. They really are unstoppable at home, it seems, and I'm worried about going to City Manchester.
Aguero and Zabaleta have ruined my fantasy team now, both being out injured.
Yeah. Another thing you notice about the same happened against when they lost against United. Ozil went missing for Arsenal. If he doesn't play, they don't play.
I saw a tweet saying, has anybody seen Aaron Ramsey as well? Which is
There was something very interesting at the end of that game as well. The Arsenal fans were meant to clap the away fans for travelling, and Ozil just walked off the pitch, and Mertesacker was screaming in his face, like obviously telling them off for not doing it.
Ozil put something on Twitter or Facebook later apologising for it, but that doesn't make up for what he did.
Do you think this is like sort of like a mini nailing Arsenal's title?
Yeah, I think Arsenal are good enough to beat any team on their level or below them, but any team above them, they're not solid enough to beat them. I think that's shown. Ramsey went missing. Was Wilshere even playing? Ozil, can't remember him being there. Giroud showing his average finishing ability as well.
Do you think the fact that City were at home though as well?
Well, yeah,
City
obviously
been on
played.
fire at home.
Yeah, exactly. That's true. That helped as well. But
I think if City sort out their away form this season, they'll win it. Honestly, do, because
I think
if
that's
they start picking up wins away from home, because they have been absolutely rampant at home, it's actually ridiculous.
And it will start.
no, it will happen.
They've absolutely thrashed three of the like what would have been at the start of the season your main title contenders: United, Arsenal, Tottenham.
It's incredible their own form. It really is. Liverpool Spurs. Oh, it's such a shame, George, isn't it? Because he said something about Spurs to come out with a great performance against the Liverpool team and stuff like that. So,
The complete midfield
can you
performance.
imagine his face during that game?
Jordan Henderson, complete midfielder. Unbelievable. Unbelievable in that game, and he deservedly picked the man of the match. I thought it was going to be Suarez, but delighted Henderson got it because he was brilliant and he got his goal. John Flanagan as well scoring. So you know it's your day when John Flanagan scores.
He could have got a second as well, to be honest with you. He wasn't far away from getting a second.
He's done great since he's come in. He's a right-sided fullback, a very average right-sided fullback, but he's done a job at left back, and credit to him. I hope he kicks off from here and becomes a star.
He looks like a Chris Baird sort of guy.
Hopefully he's a bit better than that.
Chris Baird.
I love Chris Baird.
That was Liverpool's best domestic performance in over 20 years, especially given the context. The last game that we played that well was when we went to Old Trafford in 2009, 1-4-1. But to go to Spurs and win 5-0, it was really, really impressive.
Me and Kev were worried about the midfield, especially, weren't we?
Yeah, like before the game, I was looking. They were playing three strong lads against our three small lads, and I was like, here, rest in peace.
That's exactly what.
Get hammered here. But
Henderson dominated.
it was just the pressing was absolutely brilliant. We didn't give them a minute, and it's no surprise that Gerrard wasn't playing because for all he offers, you can't run anymore. And between Henderson and Allen, they pressed brilliantly, and then Lucas done a decent row holding. I think not only that, obviously like Suarez got another brace, another two brilliant goals, and it's nothing to us. Like then Henderson obviously had a great game.
Do you not think Tottenham being as poor as they were overshadows how good you were?
No.
think it might in the media, but literally, Tottenham were bad, but Liverpool were near flawless. Tottenham didn't have. That was the first time in about 5 years that Tottenham didn't have a shot on target in a game.
It was a complete performance. The defence was brilliant. Mingale was a little bit dodgy at the start, but like everybody on the pitch played well. Everybody had played well, and it's so rare that you see that in a game. There was very few poor performances. There was actually none. It was a great game to watch.
Okay, you want to say?
A 5-0 win away at Spurs is a 5-0 win away at Spurs, really, and it's a brilliant result. Like, if any other team had done that in the Premiership, you'd have said, well done. Like, Liverpool looked the strongest they have done in quite a few years.
As much as I hate to say, I agree with you as well.
Probably since maybe 2009, if the Liverpool would agree with me.
Yeah.
But the only thing that I think about Liverpool is that they lack a bit of depth. They're about a couple of players short. They're a couple of top players short of being title winners.
Yeah.
If you lose Suarez, I think
When?
if Suarez
He's in
decides
talks with Barcelona today with Guardiola's brother, the agent. Or something.
He's gonna go. He's gonna go. I'm not just saying this to be a dick, but he is gonna go. Every goal, but I think a good thing.
We
every
make
goal
Champions
he
League.
scores adds money onto his.
If we make Champions League this year, we could have him for another year.
if you don't, he's going at the end of the season.
If Man U got 80 million for Ronaldo, Suarez can't be far away from that.
No.
You'll make a fortune off it. Absolutely, you need to spend it well.
Thing is though, the story looking between Rodgers and AVB, we held out and kept our best player. We built a team around him, but we didn't really add anything to it. We're now 2 points off top of the league. Spurs decided to try to get as much money for him. They got 80 million. They built a team with 80 million. Look at them now. AVB's gone.
Exactly.
It just shows you that we are right to hold out and laugh off. If they're 40 million.
It goes to show how much balls Brendan Rodgers actually has, because how many other managers would have just crumbled and said, right, listen, he doesn't want to play for us, go. But he was willing to let him rot in the reserves. It was either like, you play for us, we're not getting rid of you. Well, I know it wasn't just Rodgers' sole decision, but like, it does show a lot of guts to do that.
Well, I think if when he does go, you've got to hope Rodgers spends well, because that will be you for the next 4 or 5 years. The money he spends, regardless of how well he's doing so far, that will be his biggest test as a top 4 manager. How he spends that money from Suarez.
Absolutely.
Players he's bought have been good so far, so
Yeah,
I'd have
he's
confidence that if he had
bought
100
well,
million
to
to
be
spend, he would buy well.
You'd hope that we'll be in the Champions League by the time we sell, so we'll be able to attract better players. I think that's the main thing.
Moving on to the United Villa. I'm sure it was a sigh of relief for David Moyes to get that 3 points.
Oh yeah, definitely. Well, I didn't say I was at work, but I watched it on Match of the Day, and Valencia and Rafael looked brilliant down that right side.
How bad were Aston Villa? Aston Villa were
But,
awful.
yeah, but a 3-0 Villa Park's like it's quite a hard place to go in the Premier League, and a 3-0 result.
Well, I watched the game and Villa never threatened at all. I mean, Man U weren't great, but they were decent. Valencia had a good game, which he needed to, because he hasn't played well in about 2 years. Cleverly actually did okay as well. He scored. It's just
You're not Cleverly's biggest fan, are you, either, Jack?
he's just average, and he's just Henderson's above him now, in my opinion.
Henderson is literally the best English midfielder in the Premier League, unquestionably, and anybody who thinks differently doesn't watch football. Seriously.
This season, you're absolutely right. Maybe Gareth Barry.
Liverpool fans, I think, are the only people who actually
Gareth
appreciate
Barry.
Gareth Barry in his
On form.
He's playing defensive midfield. He's
This
playing
year,
in the league.
Jordan Henderson by far.
Gareth Barry can't play for England again. All you got to do is watch the Germany fashion in the 2010 World Cup. He was, God, it was embarrassing. If I was him, I would have tied on the spot.
I hate
Both
Gareth
of
Barry
them
and I
are
hate James Milner. They're both very,
Milner's
very
awful.
boring.
But no,
players.
Henderson, he's impressed me. He really has. I just wiped him clean off any England hopes, but no, he's done very well. He's positioning. He's demanding the ball as well. I think you get the best out of Henderson when Gerrard isn't playing, because when Gerrard's playing, I think he tends to let Gerrard do it because he's Steven Gerrard.
Yeah.
Once he's not there, you can see Henderson. He demands the ball off the players. He screams at them. He wants the ball. He passes it. He moves it. He wants it back.
Well, was
wins
he
the
not
ball.
one of England's best players during the under-21s?
He was the captain.
For the past 2
Yeah.
years,
He's only 22, 23 now. You know, like, he's not going to reach his peak for another 3 years.
No, we're not going to build him up as another Gerrard or anything.
No.
But he's a lot better than he was made out to be a year ago. So
Well,
fair play to him.
Back to United. We'll never go back to United. Rooney was back on top form as well. You know, he played just behind Welbeck, and his passing was perfect every time. Long balls, diagonal long balls, little 5-yard passes to create space. Fantastic, really was.
It was good to see Welbeck get a couple as well, because he's a man who doesn't score many goals, but
They were both like strikers' goals as well. You know, they were both like poachers' goals. They did well for them both.
He nearly got himself a hat-trick. I think he had
He
a good
did.
chance for a lob towards the end, and it was unlucky. But
He got one just
Darren
wide as
Fletcher
well.
came back as well.
That was nice to see. It
Yeah,
really was. It
very
was good to
nice.
see. Even if you're not a Man United fan, it was good to
No,
see him
yeah,
come
it
back
was,
from
yeah.
such a serious
you
disease.
still question what he could really bring. Like,
I think if he gets back to full fitness, I think he's solid enough midfielder. You know,
There's a reason why Darren Fletcher played in those Champions League finals.
because Fergie bemoaned the fact that he missed the first one
Yeah.
when Fabregas did that horrendous dive to get him sent off, cheating git. But anyways, we'll move on
I,
from that.
I just think I can see him leaving either in like at the end of the season or a couple of seasons. I think he just needs like a fresh start at somewhere else. Like
Our Premier League team. If I was a top 10 Premier League team, I'd snap someone's hand off
Yeah.
like Darren Fletcher.
I just don't think I think there's too much competition. I think they want to try and bring Fellaini. I think Fellaini he's at the minute he's not looking like a United
Does he
player.
have to wear a bag when he plays?
Sorry.
Does he have to wear a bag?
Poor Darren, leave him alone.
Yeah.
I'd give Fellaini back to Everton and take Barkley and plus about 30 million because
Yeah.
he's going to be one. Hey, you say Henderson's the best English midfielder in the Premier League. You think Barkley's pushing him close?
oh yeah. Fair.
Unbelievable player.
We'll move on to Ross Barkley and Everton. Obviously, it was at Everton Fulham. From a Fulham point of view, first half we gave a bit too much respect, but second half we really did come out, and the scoreline was deceiving to the way the game went. There was a chance at 1-0 where Steve Sidwell was finding a stinger, and Tim Howard's palmed it out, and Kaska Nikolic, all he has to do is tap it in, and he puts it over. I'm a fan of the lad, and he's still young, but he's got to be burying it. But after that, they scored the second goal straight after we'd equalised, and it just killed us really. But it was a great performance at Goodison Park, because usually we are, like we were saying last week, we are awful at Goodison Park, but the second half were really good. But it was a deceiving scoreline, but yeah, Everton were good. Weren't as good as they have been doing, but it shows how good Everton are this season, that they can play not very well and still grind out a result sort of thing. Moving on, we're going to move on to something different from football. You know where we're going, I'm sure you do, with the part we've been doing these shows. Morky, the Ashes, we've been hammered, haven't we?
We have, Tom, yeah, and it's been from what I've seen, it's been pretty terrible. It's like a lot of the mistakes we've been making. Like Australia have been good, but we've been awful. Like we've been really bad. Like the other night we had two fielders going for the same catch. Well, it was up in the air. Like the first thing you get taught as a kid in the under-11s or whatever is as soon as the ball goes up in the air, someone puts a name on it. You had literally two professional cricketers. These guys are on a lot of money. They're internationals running for the same ball. It was up in the air and nearly crashing into each other. That's how bad.
That's the most exciting thing that probably happened in the
It's like
day.
a comedy
Isn't it?
sketch. You've got players like Peter Siddle making your bowlers look average, and it was just something. Australia were going to win it. It's just something in the camp you could tell. Like I say, if Siddle's knocking your bowlers for 4s and 6s, then there's you've got no chance. Like
Mitchell Johnson's been the difference really. Like not so much in the third test, but the first two he's been absolutely unreal. The pace that he's supplied him with has been. I don't know. We've just been so bad. Kevin Peterson, I think, like when he's been required to play like a patient innings, he's just gone gung ho and he's been caught trying to go for.
He's got the attention span of a 12-year-old, hasn't he? He really has.
His concentration.
He's a good player, but he's not reliable at all.
I was going to say, did Jimmy Anderson not have like the worst? It was like a stat on.
He got hit for 28 off 1 over, I think. I got to bed by that point, but yeah, I think that's the equal worst off and over in Test cricket, which is six balls.
Yeah. What do you think of Cook's captaincy throughout the?
It's been all right up until now, hasn't it? Up until this series, we've been doing all right. We're like top 2 or 3 in the world, but they just seem to have got the pieces over there. I think Australia really have got to him. And this is the first time in God knows how long, in a couple of years, Australia have looked like actually challenging.
I thought it was interesting the Ashes because it's just I'm not a big cricket guy, but I used to like watching the Ashes. But now it's just slating, it's just sledging first, and it's just cricket. You're just like they're a bunch of kids, man. Yeah, actually, it's a pain in the ass.
Sledging's a big part of it, like because like you hear them like pick it up on like the stump cam and whatever, and like they are professional cricketers and whatever, but. Yeah.
I know it's all good fun, but like it's getting personal now, and like the stuff they were saying about Trot, like you don't want that. You know, if he's suffering, they came out. I didn't know he was suffering from a depression. Of course he did. Absolute rubbish.
We've had some classic Cumbrian lingo there from Jack as well. You've also got something to tell us in boxing.
Proper crack.
Oh yeah, Vitaly Klitschko has vacated his belt, which is good news really because it means that we'll only have one Klitschko instead of 2. He's gone to be a politician in the Ukraine because it's all kicking off over there. Apparently his political party translates as punch,
Right.
which is quite Yeah, but it's all kicking off in the Ukraine, so he's gone to sort that out.
I didn't watch that, like.
Knock people into
But
place.
it's good for boxing because we might actually get like
Yeah.
someone with a bit of character as a heavyweight champion of the world. But we'll still have his brother, but he should be gone in a couple of years. So hopefully.
Some crazy crap going on. You'd never see that in England, would you? You'd never see David Hay going to politics or anything, would you? The Eastern Europeans are raj, like.
He's just gonna stand in the National Square and he like have a mic. And give a bit of
And
speech.
everyone's to vote for him, isn't he?
He's gonna run for president apparently. So
He'll probably win, won't he?
He would win, yeah.
Up against Shevchenko though.
Shevchenko
If
versus Klitschko, was
went
it?
for it, he's
Andrei Voronin,
Yeah, Varnin.
No, there's a hero.
Timashuk.
curly locks.
ponytail.
Anyway, we're going to move on to where we always end up at this time of the show. This weekend's football. We have got City at home. We're usually
This is when City start winning away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
we're usually sort of City's bogey team. We're sort of one of those teams that City don't particularly like playing. Last year it was really tight at home. I think we lost 2-1 with them getting like an 88th minute winner. The Rene Muller's team has come in and he has done you can see that the players are really up for it now and
Well, apart from
they're
Berbatov.
playing, we're pressing more and we're like, I don't know what Jack said then, but I'll ignore it because it's probably something derogatory to my beloved Fulham. But I've also seen some speculation. It was on a dodgy website at first, but then it was on the Guardian, so it's usually fairly good there. That Clint Dempsey is coming back in the January window. Oh, there was a part of me that was saying no, I don't want you back, Clint. After what he did to us, but there's also a part saying we actually really need him.
Really, really do.
Which would be good, especially with Brian Ruiz having a sulk and wanting to go as well.
You need a new striker. Part of your problem is the fact you've got Bent who does no work, Berbatov who does no work, Ruiz who does no work. Team like Fulham, you need everyone pulling the weight.
Tarap doing no
That's
work.
why we've done
doing
this.
no work.
That's why we've done this thing with midfield where we've got Karagounis, Parker, and Sidwell.
And it's working.
As a three,
It's looked like it's working.
They are bundles of energy, all of them combined. Scott Parker loves a tackle. Sidwell loves a tackle. And Karagounis plays like he's 16 still, and he's 36. And that's been really working in the games that we've used it in. I'd take a draw. I would stop.
You'll take a draw. That's all right then, Tom. That's all right.
Yeah, but I reckon we could do it. I still think
Take
I
a
always have.
draw.
I always have belief that we can beat
You'd
teams.
bite the hand off the draw.
We would, but I really do think that if we just get out City, that we can.
Well, if there's one thing Mullin has done, it's instilled belief in the fans anyway.
No, I've always been like
Yes.
that anyway. I really do think that if
But there's no Aguero as well, remember?
that's what I mean. If City turn up and have been playing away from home like they have been recently, I know they went to Bayern Munich and got that result, which doesn't really bode well for us. But I don't know what I'd just say that I have confidence that we can get a result in that game.
Okay.
Yeah, obviously it's not gone down too well with the rest of the panel, but I'm sure there's some Fulham fans out there who'll be up for it as well.
Well, if you have no hope, you've nothing. So there you go.
Just because you lot have the great stuff with Liverpool and whatnot.
Oh yeah,
sure.
Carlisle. Yeah, it's, like,
Sure.
it's great stuff.
United have got West Ham, but we've also got Stoke.
I'm going to that game.
Right,
No, I'm just want to point that out there. So.
thanks Jack.
It's alright.
Mid-sentence.
How you support
Well,
Carlisle?
I do, but
Yeah, you can't support two teams like Borky.
I don't. I'm just going to Man U. I've got to give them tickets for it, so why not? Carlisle away.
You've got Stoke, is it tonight as well?
Stoke away tonight. West Ham at home on Saturday.
What do you reckon then, Mopes?
Well, Stoke away. I don't know the way I'd like to think we could win, but I think the Capital One Cup's a competition that we could win this season realistically.
Did Stoke give you a really close call at Old Trafford as well?
Yeah, but I don't know. I just. Well, did you see what Rodney Marsh put on Twitter about Stoke? He put if they're ever first on Match of the Day, that he'd drive to Stoke and clean all the players' boots.
Right.
Well, they were first on the week against Chelsea, weren't they? And I think he agreed I think he's agreed to do it.
Is he really?
Good.
Apparently so, yeah. But
Talks nothing but rubbish, that boy.
Yeah, he's in there, so.
He's an absolute idiot.
Well, yeah, I think Stoke are a bad side. I just don't rate Marquis as a manager, so I'd hope we could get a result there. And then the same with West Ham, really. But then again, we've lost at home 3 times this season, so anything can happen.
Well, yeah, and as well, Stoke have just off the back of the Chelsea win as well. Speaking of last night as well, Sunderland knocking Chelsea out.
No, I watched that. It was Chelsea were pretty poor. Sunderland matched them for being poor, but yeah, it was alright. I mean, Chelsea's goal came up 20 seconds into the second half. Sunderland just didn't switch on. And Sunderland should have won it in injury normal time. Sorry, but after Bruni's goal, he had an easier chance, and he went back to the Bruni that we all know and love. He just didn't shoot. Instead of hitting it first time past Czech, he tried to put it on his left foot.
I think Schwartz was in goal last night as well.
Schwartz, he had nothing to do apart from the.
He pulled out a great save from a header from somebody. I didn't see that.
Did he? That must have been after I left at half time injury time. Couldn't bother watching the rest of it.
Liverpool, Cardiff. What do you reckon?
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. If we do win, we'll be top of the league, at least for a day, and it will be the first time that we've won 4 league games in a row.
Are you going to save that day in your calendar and take a picture of the league?
The only thing is, I was saying to Kev about the typical Liverpool winning a big club and then losing against a smaller team, because it's been kind of the standard for the last couple of seasons. So hopefully we change that, and I think I'm confident anyway. I'm sure Kev's the same, aren't you?
Are you at Anfield yet?
Yeah, we put the smaller teams away easily at Anfield. We really have to be winning that.
And that used to be one of your big problems last season, weren't it? With the smaller so-called teams and putting them away.
So as I said,
That's been the difference this year, hasn't it?
That's why you are where you are, aren't you? Because you've been getting the points off them smaller teams. And now finally, Jack, Carlisle, we had a cracking result. And that Tom Lawrence kid, what a player he looks.
Decent. For his first, not bad 2 first goals in your professional career, is it? If anyone hasn't seen them, I suggest you go and look at Carlisle's 4-1 win over Tranmere. Great goals. We're away to Walsall on Saturday, who are 9th in the table, way up to 13th. Look. Walsall, they're an alright team, to be fair. Tranmere were pretty poor on the weekend, which helped a lot. Plus the match fixing scandals got in the way of things with Akpo and Ian Goodison. But we are on fire at the minute. We've got looking. The squad's very impressive. The goal difference is -10, which is awful. But with Mepp and Walter at the back, Lawrence, he reminds me of Ben Marshall when we had him from Stoke a few seasons ago. He just picks the ball up, 2-footed, he can go inside, he can go outside, just runs past people like they're not even there.
I think the second goal was better than the first.
Yeah, I suppose anyone could, not anyone can just chip the ball up to themselves and volley it over the keeper. But I know what you mean. Like the second one, the way he picks the ball up, knocks it past 2 people like they're not even there, and waltzes to another 4. It was quite reminiscent of Gigas against Arsenal, to be honest with you.
Suarez-esque.
Yeah, that's not even like pushing the boat out. It was very reminiscent of Gigas against Arsenal. But I think we'll get a point at Walsall. We've got a hard run of games coming up. Walsall away, Preston at home Boxing Day, Peterborough at home with the 29th, which will be a hard game. Crewe away on New Year's Day, and then Sunderland in the Cup. So I reckon if we out of them 4 league games, if we can avoid getting beat, even if we come up with 4 draws, I think that'll be a hell of a Christmas.
Do you think the signing of Tom Lawrence has somewhat taken that sort of direction at Lee Miller when he doesn't perform well?
Yeah, well, it seems Miller had a great game on Saturday, because now with the headers and the flicks he wins, Lawrence is onto them. Whereas Amu's a great player, but he is quite lazy and lackadaisy in his performance. You know, if he gets the ball, albeit, but he's not one of those who'll go. He won't go sprinting after a fullback 20 yards at the ball. But Lawrence, people can't handle him. He's a 19-year-old lad who wants to play football, and he wants to get the ball before anyone else. He wants to be better than them.
He seems like he's got that courage that most professional footballers
He
at that age have.
He has been like he came as a central player, either a striker or like a 10, I suppose. But he's been playing on the left of the front 3, and he's great. Coming inside, hitting shots, going wide, getting the ball past players. Rodden made his debut as well, the lad from Liverpool, and he was alright. You could tell he was rusty as hell.
I was just about to ask you about the new players.
You know, his touch was a bit off. He was a bit slow in the passing, but Liverpool fans rave about him. You know, he can't be a bad player. Liverpool fans are raving about him in the reserves. Morris from Blackburn came on for Lawrence as well, because after he scored the second goal, he got jumped on by everyone in the team, including Taverner. Nice 40-yard sprint down the line to join in with the boys, but he ended up getting cramped because all the lads jumped at him, so they had to take him off. So Morris came on, he did well, and it's the first time in, I'd say, 2 or 3 years where I look at the Carlisle starting 11 and I'm happy with every player, and I'm looking at the bench and saying, oh well, he could be starting, and he could be starting. I'm looking at him going, oh, we could play 4-4. It's nice to have for a change.
Interest, who was on that bench? Can you
the bench, Liam Noble, who's been a mainstay in the team for the past few years. We had Fleming on the bench, the keeper, but once Gillespie comes back, he'll be back in goal. The Amos will be going back to United. Potts, who playing midfield, fantastic, but he came on at right back and he's an awful fullback. He really is a poor fullback. Centre midfield, he's great though. Guy who was on the bench, he was he'll get you the odd goal. He works the defenders hard. Who else do we have? Morris from Blackburn. He's decent. He had a good game here against us with Blackburn early in the season. But I think as long as we get some decent loans in January or keep the ones that we've got at the minute for the end of the season, we'll be fine. Kavanagh seems to have good links with the teams and he's got an eye for a good player.
And just my last question before we round it up. Josh Gillies, he's gone out on loan, hasn't he?
It's Cambridge, yeah. I haven't really heard that. Apparently in his debut he played really well. His second game he scored, I think. I haven't really heard much about him.
In the games that I've seen, I thought he looked like a real,
I don't know,
a real threat.
Yeah, he plays a sort of link between midfield and the striker, but I don't know. I wanted to give him a chance, and I've seen him play for 4 or 5 substitute appearances, but he's never really shown anything at all. He hasn't really. He's maybe the odd good pass, but you're like, God, anyone can make the odd good pass. I suppose I could make the odd good pass in League One, I guess. I hope so. I hope he does all right. If not, then I hope we move him on. I'd hate for him to stagnate here. People need to get rid of Kanemaru.
He can't get rid of Kanemaru.
Has he played this season?
He hasn't
just seems to be
played.
around.
It's wage going to waste, so we can't afford to
No,
do that. And
yeah.
Mike Edwards.
You can't get rid
Oh,
of
yeah.
fans.
Yeah.
Just put him as like a cheerleader.
He does more work with the Leeds women's football team than anything like Carlisle, judging by his Twitter account.
Well, I think we'll finish on that note then. It's our last show before Christmas, obviously, so from all of day, we wish you a Merry Christmas
Merry
and
Christmas.
a Happy New Year, and hope 2014 is a good one for you all. Yeah.
Going home on Saturday.
Yeah, Jamie's just
I'm saying here.
jumped in there and he's going home on Saturday. Woo! Yeah, so have a good one.